And hello and welcome along. Kathy Frey here. Welcome along to this week's IMCO webinar. So that's the International Integrated Maternity Healthcare Organisation. And this week on our Natural Health webinar series, we have the lovely intuitive birth educator and parent mentor, Katie Oliver, who specialises in birth resolution. So say hello, Katie.
Hi, everybody.
Welcome along. And Katie's been working, with parents for over 7 years, and she quickly realised that despite the ideological birth preparation of hypnobirthing, parents will still experience birth trauma. And through healing her own birth trauma, she's been able to fully support parents. We're going to be talking about birth trauma today and reducing birth trauma and healing and postnatal depression and those words that we all want to just roll our eyes at. Well, at least the baby's healthy. Yeah. So I'm going to hand you over now to Katie, where she's got a PowerPoint that she's going to go through, and feel free, anybody watching live today, to type into the Q&A or into the chat any particular questions that you may have, and we'll make sure that those are answered. And I'll get Katie to sort of reintroduce herself as well, tell you a little bit more about herself and her background. So welcome, Katie.
Thank you, Kathy. Morning, everybody. Now, I have to say, and I'm going to share this, I'm feeling very, very nervous about this morning.
Oh, please don't. We're all friends.
This is something very new for me. So there's a lot of anxiety and anticipation, but I'm also very excited too. So thank you for having me on, Kathy.
It's our absolute honour, and you're absolutely not alone in that feeling, because a lot of the times people that we have speaking here are not used to presenting, but they are so good, but they so know their topic, and that's their niche, is being with the woman and with the family, and sticking them on a camera is a whole different episode or lack of comfort zone. So we appreciate your honesty. And yeah, please don't feel nervous. No one's going to be judging anything.
Brilliant. So if you do want to, just pop in the chat, like where you are, who you are, what you do. Be nice to know who I'm kind of speaking to, and then I can draw some of those examples through as I go through this chat today. So I'm going to just flip to share screen with some magicness of Zoom and PowerPoint. So Kathy, I'm relying on you to let me know that this works. So here we go. Right, so welcome. Let's go back. There we go. Can you see that? I'm hoping that you can see that. Okay, does that come up?
We can. You'll want to sort of click into the full screen of the slide.
Oh, has that, because it's on full screen for me, is that not full screen for you guys?
No. Okay. Do you have two screens?
Stop share. I've got you up. I can see the camera up.
We did rehearse this and it worked fine, so I'm not sure what's happened. But look, if we can't see the full screen, the full slide, it doesn't matter as well.
Share. How's that?
Oh yes, now that's perfect.
Oh, good. Okay, so
all good.
And now I can't get the PowerPoint to move. Oh, there we go. Da, 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 da. Okay, so welcome today. I would love to talk to you about how we can reduce birth trauma and heal, begin the healing process of PND and everything that comes with birthing and the transition into parenthood and beyond. So we know, we just know that the statistics are quite startling, and we know that a huge amount of women and fathers do do suffer with PND, and you know, there's a growing amount of women and birthing mothers experiencing birth trauma these days. So I'm going to probably share with you my story to begin with, so that you know where I'm coming from, and then I'll introduce to what my intentions are for you for today. So my story began just over 12 years ago with the birth of my first son, and I suppose the turning point was the moment that we were just giving birth. And I wouldn't say that the birth itself was traumatic. It was bloody hard work, and it was, you know, it was something else. But when I was about to get off the bed to go to the toilet, I couldn't move. And so I wasn't paralyzed, because I did have movement and feeling, but I'd ruptured my pubic symphysis during the birth process. So that was the beginning of of this long journey to where we are here today. And it was through that physical rehabilitation that kind of spiraled off into the whole emotional and the whole bonding journey with my baby, who turned out to be a very highly sensitive and difficult baby, and had severe reflux as well. So along with a big rehabilitation, a baby that never slept, a baby that always cried, as you can imagine, it was a bloody recipe for disaster. And so there was one point that I reflect upon now, and it still really angers me. And it's a moment where, you know, I'd called in help. You know, I'd called in the midwife to come back after 3 months. I really needed to process the birth, and then we got maternal mental health in to help too. And I just could not believe it. And it's probably now, as I look back retrospectively, that it really annoys me. But I had this maternal mental health woman that had come in from the hospital, you know, supposedly a woman that specializes in maternal mental health. And here she was telling me all about her daughter who had twins, and how she's managed to get them into a routine, and that's what I should be doing. So I was gutted. You know, at the time I just didn't realize it, but you know, as I look back, I went away feeling worse. I went away feeling like an even more failure of a mother from that moment. And then I suppose the next big point for me that as I reflect on, you know, there was lots of things that go along the way, but by this time I'd had my third baby, and I was just so stressed out. You know, the babies wouldn't sleep, and I guess I was in this journey of breaking this trauma cycle. I was becoming a parent that I didn't want to become. I was following traits of my own father, and it was just horrible. And in amongst that, we had my first son was very anxious. He displayed very challenging behaviors, extreme behaviors, and there was times where he would self-harm, and he was only 5-6 years old. And he would threaten, he wanted to kill himself and things. And of course, I took all this on, and I just wanted to, I felt like the worst mother in the world. And again, it was at that point I called in help. I needed help. We're overseas, we've got no family support here. And you know, no solid friendship groups at that time. And so I called in help, and there was a 1,000-day trust here, and I was going to kind of submit myself there for a 2 or 3 day break, but that all fell through. But I remember being at the end of the road talking to the lady, and she was very caring, you know, beautiful, like most people are, but she's just breathe when you're getting angry, just breathe. And I'm like, I know this. I've been telling myself this, and people have been telling myself to breathe just before I'm getting angry and reactive. And it just was like, I can't do it. That's why I feel even worse, because I can't do this. So along the way, I've journeyed from from rehabilitating physically, emotionally, undoing lots of trauma. And, you know, as we become re-triggered from our birth experience or our parenting experience, it comes up again. It shows itself in other ways. So when after I've trained as a hypnobirthing instructor, I did some training with spinning babies. And as you gain this knowledge and awareness and understanding, you're like, damn it, why didn't I do that with my children? I regret not doing this. Why didn't the midwives know that? And so these things can always be re-triggered along the way. We're not always kind of in that raw phase when it's just happened. It can happen and unravel over time. So let me see if I can switch slides magically. Let's see what happens. I'm trying to change the slide. Go to slide. Usually you just press the button and it switches, but there we go. So my intention for you today, when you're listening either now or in the replay, is that we need to understand that just by listening, we can actually be very powerful in someone else's healing process. As the quote there by Marshall Rosenberg says, time and time again, people transcend the paralyzing effects of psychological pain when they have sufficient contact with someone who can hear them empathically. So today, what I want to take you through is actually reflecting on how you actually listen, okay, and how you respond to somebody that's really sharing a difficult story or experience, whether that's birth related or life related. And then we're going to discuss what it is that somebody really needs to hear when they're in that moment of pain and suffering, and also how we can become a more efficient, empathic communicator so that we can fully support others. Okay. So trauma is not what happens to you. Trauma is what happens inside you as a result of what happens to you. So you could have two women that have exactly the same birth experience on paper, but one will come away feeling completely traumatized and one will feel completely empowered. Okay, so that is where our role is, our role as a birth attendant, as a friend, as a supporter, as a health worker, is to make somebody or help them to feel safe so that they, you can either eliminate the trauma or reduce it. So by helping them to make them feel safe, like safety is not the absence of threat. Okay, we all go through difficult experiences. That's what life is about. We will always have challenges and difficult experiences. But when we are in the presence of connection, then the effects of that experience can be highly reduced. So as I shared my story, from my journey, I really want everybody, I want every parent to feel like they can experience birth where they are comfortable and okay with their birth experience. I want them to go through parenthood feeling okay and confident in themselves. That's my own personal mission. And that really starts with you when you're present with somebody else. And so when we're listening to somebody's stories or just their general woes, whether it's a big trauma or just, you know, that pure exhaustion of parenting, are we actually listening? And I'm going to take you now through some typical responses or reactions to when we listen to somebody's story. Just going to take a mouthful here. So often when we hear someone's story, we'll react in one of several ways. And actually, these are not empathic ways of listening. And the first one I want to share with you is the consoler. So this might sound something like, oh, you are an amazing mother, but you did the best you can. You tried really hard. You did so well. You're great. You're doing great. You're doing a great job. Okay, so this is what the consoler sounds like. And it's very well-meaning and it's very caring, and we're coming from a place of wanting to help. Okay, So if we look here, we are, when we're thinking about why we're actually responding that way, when we're trying to cheer them up, we say, or reassure them, okay, we're wanting them to feel better about themselves, because it's really hard to hear someone when they're going, I feel like a failure, you know, and this woman or mum, she's had to give up on breastfeeding because she's had mastitis, or it's too painful, she's had lots of complications, the baby's got tongue tie, the baby's not putting on weight. Or the mum who's ended up with a cesarean and she was so desperate for that vaginal birth, you know, or that terrible angry mother who just really, really is upset with herself in the way that she's parenting, and it's all against the ways that she wants to parent. Coming in with a comment going, but you are an amazing mother, okay, it just doesn't land, and they're not going to hear those responses. So we, as the listener, are actually trying to make them feel better about themselves. Yes, we're coming in from a place of heart here. But actually, I wonder if we're saying those things because we're actually quite uncomfortable about being around someone expressing a difficult story. And so we're quickly trying to make that go away and eliminate that. Okay, so if you are in the chat, if you are in the chat and you know that you do the consoling, just put a C in the chat for now. And, you know, if you know that's what you do quite often, or what you say quite often, and it's all good. There is no right or wrong about this. We're just bringing awareness to how we respond to people in their times of need. And I still do this. I do all of these. Okay. So the next one I want us to bring awareness to is, and I'm an expert at this one, the fix it or the advisor. You know, I'm so want to help this person to move on from where they're at, so they don't have to experience that suffering anymore, whether it's you know, the sleep deprivation or the feeding or the reflexy baby or anything. And this one can sound you know, things like, have you tried this? What about going to this person? You know, you could do it this way, or could you do it that way? And so although this is sometimes welcome, it's not actually listening to their story. It's not actually listening to how they're feeling in this moment when they're sharing with you. And so when we come in too soon with the advice and the suggestions, then we can shut them down. We shut their story down, and it can actually send.
Excuse me, Katie, so sorry to interrupt. We're getting some messages through on the Q&A that the chat area seems to be disabled. I have absolutely no idea why the chat is disabled. But if, so instead of using chat, if those of you could use Q&A, that would be great. And if any of you have any insight as to why a chat section would be disabled, because I haven't had that myself before, let us know. But anyway, so just use the Q&A instead of the chats. Thanks, everybody.
Will you put a message into the chat, because I can see your message in there, Kathy, that says we'd love to, you've got something in the chat.
Yes, I'm not sure why others can't seem to reply to that.
Yeah, so maybe pop a message in there to tell people to go into the Q&A.
Yes, we will too.
Great.
Thank you.
Thanks. Okay, so I'll just let's see. So the fix it advisor wants to come in, but when we're coming in too soon with our suggestions or advice of what this person can do, it can fall flat, and it's not actually what they need in that moment. They just need to be heard. Okay, and so often people that come that are doing this, and like I say, I'm brilliant at doing this, is we want to be helpful. So we have this deep need within us to be helpful for this person. Okay, so we are fulfilling our own need. And so as listeners, we need to become more aware of, why am I responding this way? What is the need within me that is driving me to respond this way? So for me to feel helpful, like I'm contributing, like I'm helping somebody, is actually fulfilling my childhood strategy and behavior that seeks connection and love with my parents. I was the listener, I was the suggester, I was like, could you do this, could you do that? So that's where I'm coming from when I slip into this response. And so often, you know, it's like, well, what can I do? Can I pick up the kids? Can I bring a meal round? You know, you want to be helpful, but actually this person just wants you to really hear their story. Okay, and again, this results in disconnection. As the storyteller, they know that the person is not actually listening to them. They're too consumed with working out how they can be helpful. So, you know, a personal experience, you know, lots and lots of times I've wanted to give up on breastfeeding so many times, you know, when the baby's teething or they're ill and you're just feeding constantly through the night and the day, or, you know, you just want some time and body to yourself. And it's like, I've had enough. I don't want to do this anymore. And my husband, bless him, would say, okay, well, let's start weaning. Let's start weaning, you know, let's solve this. Let's solve the problem. It's like, no, that is not what I'm saying. I don't really want to give up. I just don't want to do it anymore. I'm finding it so hard. That's what I wanted him to hear, not a solution. And, you know, with the sleep as well, I've had sleepless babies. And how many times does this fall? So, okay, well, you need to start sleep training. You need to let them cry it out. So they are not helpful responses. They drive disconnection rather than connection. So coming on to another typical response. Okay, I don't know if you've heard or heard of the phrase toxic positivity. So these phrases can often begin with at least baby's healthy. So mum's had an awful experience and it's like, well, at least baby's healthy. That is not okay. It is not okay. This mum is distressed. She feels like she's failed. She feels like she's let her baby down. And you're telling her, at least your baby's okay, or at least your baby's healthy. So it's not okay. And often we are coming from this place because we have deep down problems with actually being with somebody with difficult feelings, and we find that hard to hear. Or perhaps within you, you've never been able to complain or moan or whinge, and somebody else has told you, okay, well, you need to be grateful for what you do have. You need to be grateful, or there are worse people off. You know, how many times did you know, there are people, you can't be hungry. There are people starving in this world, you know, like just simple comments. So trying, as we go through, I'll share a video hopefully with Brené Brown. She talks about the silver lining. You know, we try to silver lining the situation. We're trying to pull them out of their misery and their distress and bring them to a place of gratefulness. And again, this drives disconnection, and it can leave them feeling even more guilty and more ashamed, because it's like, yes, I should be grateful that my baby's okay, but actually I'm feeling so awful. This has happened to me, that's happened to me. I feel like I've let them down. I feel like I failed. I feel like my body's failed. I should have done more preparation, etc., etc. So we need to listen to that part of the story. And then, what have I done? Resume share. Sorry, pressing the wrong buttons. And then we have, you know, perhaps the distractor or the joker. And this might look like, okay, well, we're going to just completely change the topic. We're going to start talking about the weather or what I did on the weekend, or, you know, those people, not to take fun of the situation, but they want to make light of the situation. So they're trying to lift the energy in the room so it doesn't become so heavy and really heartfelt. And so, you know, I speak to women that are sharing their stories, and they're telling me all of, you know, they might be in surgery and the nurses or the doctors are chit-chatting about their holidays or what they've done on the weekend. And, you know, they're being either having their baby, you know, birthing their babies by cesarean, or they're being stitched up and taken care of, and they've got this just chit chat going on, and they're on the bed and they're scared. They don't know what's happened to their baby. Their baby's just, you know, they're separated from their baby. They've just been through this awful ordeal, and these people are just talking about chit chat, chit chat, chit chat. Okay, so again, it makes them feel not important, like they don't matter. And actually, this is all about our mothers as they're birthing their babies. The attention needs to be on them. How are they feeling in this moment? So just by making light of the situation, again, this is a way that we think is helpful. We're always doing it from a place of wanting to care for this person. So we might be wanting to make them feel normal, like it's not so bad. We want to lift the energy in the room, and we want to eliminate tension. And often this is coming from a place, again, we are uncomfortable with being around these difficult feelings, these difficult situations. Or perhaps we've come from a place where, you know, the anger, the resentment, the sadness, the guilt, the shame are all deemed to be bad emotions. So we want to shut them down and turn them into something good. So again, this is a way of dismissing feelings and removing that person from their stories, disconnecting them as well. And they're not feeling connection with you as you're listening, and they're being taken away. So it's a distraction. And, you know, we do this well ourselves. We distract ourselves through our work, through wine, through chocolate, through exercise, through mobile phones, you know, through other means as well. So distraction is a way of getting away from these big feelings because we don't know how to be with them and deal with them. Okay. And then we have the inquisitor. So this might sound like, okay, well, what happened? Who did this? Who did that? Why didn't they do this? When did that happen? All the details. This person really wants to show that they are interested in this story, but they're asking questions, all the details. And by asking all the details, they are again not actually listening to what it is that the storyteller wants to share. And for these people, perhaps it's for them, they need to gather all this information. And I know I do this. I want to gather. And then I'm like, okay, how can I then use this information so I can help other people not go through that same situation? So I'm actually taken away from listening to their story rather than because I'm fixated on getting all the details that I need, because I'm coming from a place of keeping myself safe and other people safe too. So that's my subconscious driver going on there. And again, it interrupts the flow of their story. Perhaps they didn't want to tell you the details of when it started and when it stopped and how long it was. Perhaps they really want to get in and tell you how annoyed they were with their partner in their room. And that's where they want the story to go, but we stop that flow. So just being aware if we're asking questions. Sometimes, yes, sometimes you do need to ask questions to pull more information out. But again, it's that balance. And then we have our relator or one-upper or your own story. So, you know, when I'm sure we've all been there, we've shared a story and then someone's come in and they want to share their story, their experience. And of course, you know, we've got the one-upper, you know, where the cat is always blacker, it's always been worse, it's always been better. So again, like this can be coming from a place of care and consideration. Often we share our stories because we want the storyteller to understand that we know what they're going through. So we share how hard it's been for us when we fed the baby or, you know, couldn't feed the baby or had to give up breastfeeding. We want them to know that we've been there and can truly understand. But it then flips the story onto you and it takes away from them. Okay. And sometimes, you know, if we've got a bigger and a better story and we need to share that, that's because we haven't had the acknowledgement of our pain and hurt and suffering as well. Or perhaps from a subconscious point of view, we're needing that connection with this other person, and we get that through sharing experiences so that they can then really tap into that part of themselves too. So just understanding why we're responding that way and why we respond that way, rather than actually really listen to these people's stories. So in order to empathize with someone's experience, you must be willing to believe them as they see it and not how you imagine their experience to be. Okay. So again, we need to listen in. Often we are listening and we're formulating what we're going to say, what we're imagining is going on for them, and we're not actually listening. So really learning how to listen makes a huge difference. And then we have somebody, this might happen if you are perhaps a health worker, midwife, doula, etc. And you're like, hold on, I did that because I was going to do that, but then this happened. So you're justifying yourself and explaining yourself. So you're jumping in rather than actually listening to their experience. So if a woman's had her waters broken, you know, perhaps without full consent, and she's starting to disclose that actually I wasn't happy when that happened, and then you're jumping in going, well, it was because of this and because of that, and we're short-staffed and da. Okay, you're actually needing them to hear how hard it is for you, and perhaps you're saying these things because then it will give them more understanding, and then that will help their emotions and feelings reduce. But again, it's just robbing them of their story and their experience. Or perhaps there's underlying feelings of feeling responsible, or maybe you're disappointed with how things went and you need processing that. So it's being able to be aware of this so that you can step back, stop yourself and just listen, and then you know that you can have support in processing your part of the experience. But when we're supporting our whānau, we need to be there solely for them. And this is hard. We do get triggered by stories, especially when we're involved. We take it on ourselves, and this can be hard to hear someone else's experience without bringing our story into the equation. And then the last one, before we move on to the last part of the talk, is our sympathizer. And so this sounds a bit like, oh, I'm so sorry, gosh, that's so bad for you, I feel so awful for you, oh, you poor thing. Okay, and we say these things because they sound caring, and they, of course, they're coming from a place, we do care about this person, we do care, but this is actually pity, and pity is not helpful, pity is not empathy. Okay, and so it's not what somebody wants to hear. It's like, I don't want somebody to be sorry for me. I don't want them to feel sorry for me. And just recently I shared this deep, heartfelt experience of motherhood as I reflected about motherhood just on Mother's Day, like the other week. And one of my relatives came and she's like, oh, I'm sorry I read that. And it's like, what are you sorry for? This had nothing to do with you. Like, what are you actually sorry for? I was so complexed. And I didn't know whether she was trying to reach out. I didn't know whether she was annoyed with me. I really couldn't read it. So I don't want to be a poor thing. It makes me feel like I'm incapable, or, you know, I am, not capable of processing this big situation. I'm not a poor thing. I'm just having a hard experience, and I'm sharing this with you so that you can hear it with me. And often this is a go-to phrase, you know, we don't know what else to say. And that's, you know, that's okay. We have to have compassion with ourselves too. So if sympathy and pity is not how we want to respond, how do we want to respond? So what's the difference between pity and empathy? Now I'm just going to try something else here. So Brené Brown can summarize this in about 2-3 minutes. So I'm going to let her do this, if I can work some magic. So I'm just going to swap. Let's see. Bear with me.
Gosh, this has just been so interesting, isn't it? why did you? It's so interesting listening to all of these our common listening responses, and I think we could probably all tick yes, 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 yes on occasions that we have certainly been in those epitomize those roles.
Oh, yeah. No, no. This is not what I want. Oh, I'm trying to find my internet browser. Where is it? It's just annoying when you can't find it on here. I wonder if no.
We can see a screen at the moment.
Oh, you can.
Enjoy the love. It looks like it just needs a push play.
Let's try that, shall we? Hold on. No, I don't want that one. Let's go back to there and see if that works. I had the link, but
Oh, I see. You've got the link on the slide.
yeah, I have got the link on the slide, but that's not working. Sorry, everybody. You can see all my other
Oh, Kirsty,
my other clips up there.
Kirsty's just made a comment. This is fascinating. It applies to all situations. Very often my husband wants to fix things as they do. That is so true. Kirsty, I know that well, within my Oh Baby book, which some of you would know about, this big colossal thing, I actually talk about that. There's I'll just mention this while while Katie's just trying to see the screen. But yeah, within that I actually talk about the John Gray's book, Men from Mars, Women from Venus. And you know, one of the things that a woman can, one of the nicest things a woman can say to a man is, it's not your fault. One of the nicest things, the three nicest things that a man can say to a woman is, oh, really? Just listening. And there is a, I mean, it's fairly well documented, well known that, you know, there is such a need within the male brain as such to fix things and have a resolution and come in, and that's not what you always want as a woman. We tend to sit in the, want to dwell in the bottom of our well and you know, vent and vent and vent, and then we sort of slowly rise up and we're good again, you know. And sometimes, isn't it, where you sit down with your girlfriends and you just had this vent session, and that's all you wanted to do. You just wanted to empty out those emotions and you feel good again. Whereas the men can want to, when you do your venting, they can often tend to want to fix that problem because they're the Mr. Fix It. And yeah, and I would often say to my own husband, one of the two things that I will often say to him, probably without him realizing, is I will say, I will call him my hero and I will call him my knight in shining armor. And you know, he's done something, when he's fixed something, I'll go, oh, that's just awesome, thank you so much, you're my hero. And because that's what they want to do, you know, that's their driving force. Yeah, so it is quite interesting. So he's just, you know, I know that we are in a much more gender diverse era now, which is a good thing. And but a lot of that driving force is still there. And we are actually very close friends with a trans man who obviously was born a woman. And it's interesting listening to him explain the differences in how he feels his own brain functions with all this testosterone that he didn't used to have. So it, you know, it's just part of the hormone, you know, it's part of our mechanical makeup, really. Yeah. So anyway, how are you going?
We're also in a very masculine orientated world. Those masculine, you know, needs of fixing things. You know, our medical system and birth is still very masculine orientated. We need to fix it. We need to fix it. We need a solution. And that's,
oh my God, that is so true.
yeah. And that's no offense to
yeah.
men, like, but this is the history of birth, isn't it? So
Yeah.
you know, that's where we are now. Anyway, I'll pop this on. Let me know if it doesn't work. But this is Brené Brown. She summarizes it in 3 minutes. So it's a beautiful,
fantastic.
When there's nothing holding you back, what would your thing be?
Here we go. What is going on? There we go. Can you hear it okay?
No, I'm not hearing it.
So what is empathy?
Can
Oh,
you
yes,
hear
we
it?
are.
You can? Great.
And why is it very different than sympathy? Empathy fuels connection. Sympathy drives disconnection. Empathy, it's very interesting. Teresa Wiseman is a nursing scholar who studied professions, very diverse professions where empathy is relevant, and came up with 4 qualities of empathy. Perspective taking, the ability to take the perspective of another person or recognize their perspective as their truth. Staying out of judgment, not easy when you enjoy it as much as most of us do. Recognizing emotion in other people and then communicating that. Empathy is feeling with people. And to me, I always think of empathy as this kind of sacred space when someone's kind of in a deep hole and they shout out from the bottom and they say, I'm stuck, it's dark, I'm overwhelmed. And then we look and we say, hey, I'm down. I know what it's like down here, and you're not alone. Sympathy is, ooh, it's bad, you want a sandwich? Empathy is a choice, and it's a vulnerable choice, because in order to connect with you, I have to connect with something in myself that knows that feeling. Rarely, if ever, does an empathic response begin with at least. Yeah. And we do it all the time, because you know what? Someone just shared something with us that's incredibly painful, and we're trying to silver lining it. I don't think that's a verb, but I'm using it as one. We're trying to put the silver lining around it. So I had a miscarriage. Oh, at least you know you can get pregnant. I think my marriage is falling apart. At least you have a marriage. John's getting kicked out of school. At least Sarah is an A student. But one of the things we do sometimes in the face of very difficult conversations is we try to make things better. If I share something with you that's very difficult, I'd rather you say, I don't even know what to say right now. I'm just so glad you told me. Because the truth is, rarely can a response make something better. What makes something better is connection.
Beautiful.
That was so great. Not about a response, it's about a connection. Love it.
So how do we respond in a way that forms connection and creates, remember, that sense of safety? Because especially when we're dealing with birth, women need to feel safe, then their oxytocin's boosted, and then they can carry on birthing most effectively. It might not sound like what you think. So I'm going to take you through a couple of examples, and I know we're stretching on, so I will do my best I can. But here, you know, like if I just imagining being with a woman in labor and she's at that point of, you know, transition, the most intense point, and she's like, I can't do this anymore. I don't want to do this anymore. Give me the epidural, give me the cesarean. What she's not actually communicating is she wants the epidural or she wants the cesarean. What she's trying to say is, this is so fucking horrible. I can't do it anymore. I don't know how long this is going to last for, and I don't think I can cope. She doesn't actually want the epidural, and she doesn't actually want the cesarean. What she needs somebody to do in that moment is go, this is really, I can see this is hurting you so much right now. I can see how much pain you're in. And by hearing those words from somebody else, it can bring so much relief in her body, because she doesn't then have to expend all this energy trying to express to somebody else how much pain she's in. And so by somebody reflecting it back to her and saying what it is, she can relax. She's like, oh, finally somebody understands me. And then we can get back into a groove. It's like, I can see how much pain you're in. Yes, it hurts so much. I'm here. Let's breathe these next few surges together. And you get deep into her eyes and work with those surges. And then just keep going through the next couple of contractions. And then, you know, if you need compassionate intervention, you need compassionate intervention. But often our words and our actions aren't actually what we're trying to say. So we need to look beyond those into what they're actually needing or feeling in that moment. And so to the woman whose hopes of a vaginal birth have been dashed, whether it becomes an emergency Caesar or a planned Caesar, you know, we can just say to her, look, are you feeling really scared? Are you feeling really disappointed? Because you had hoped so much for this vaginal birth. You know how better it is for your baby's health and everything. Are you feeling disappointed or gutted, or are you feeling scared right now? So just ask them what they're feeling. And then you can ask them, what are you needing right now? Are you needing reassurance? Are you needing explanation? Are you needing understanding? Are you needing a distraction? Maybe she does want to have that lightheartedness around so that she can deal with it. But ask them what they are feeling and what they are needing. And to the dad in the room who sees his partner in so much pain and doesn't know what to do or what to say, and he's feeling completely helpless and alienated, what can we say to him? Are you feeling helpless now? It's a horrible place to be, isn't it, when you don't know what to do, what to say? What are you needing right now? Are you needing a break? Are you needing to know what to say or what to do? Can I offer you something that you can do for your partner? And to the mother who hates herself, she hates herself so bad that she just wants to escape. Perhaps she's talked of words of self-harm or, you know, complete escapism through suicide. That is probably not what she's wanting to do. What she's wanting to say is, these feelings inside my body are so big, I don't know what to do with them. I just want to escape them. I don't want to feel them anymore. So she's not actually saying that she wants to kill herself or she wants to hurt herself or hurt her baby. She's just consumed by these huge emotions. I won't go into, you know, we need to care for that in a different way. But sometimes if we are that first listener, we can really look into what she's actually trying to say. Perhaps she's saying that she's so exhausted. Perhaps she's trying to express that she's just despairing. She feels hopeless. Perhaps she feels let down by somebody or something. Perhaps she feels completely lonely and isolated. Or maybe she's feeling so angry at herself because she's the mother that she didn't want to be. And so just naming it for them, because often we can't say these things. We are generally emotionally illiterate as a community, as a you know, in this society. So say it and then ask her, what is it she wants? Does she just want somebody to hear her pain, or does she want then support? Does she need support with feeding? Does she need support with the cleaning and the housework, etc., etc.? Ask her what she's needing before offering advice and help. And then to the mother who's so distraught, she's had to give up breastfeeding, and she'd set her heart on, you know, breastfeeding long term, but she's had to give up for all different reasons. You know, the repeated mastitis, the low weight gain. You know, we can say to her, look, I'm guessing, are you feeling like you're a failure? Are you feeling like you've let your baby down? Because it was so important to you, because you know how much benefit they get from the breast milk. What is it that you're needing right now? Are you needing reassurance that your baby's still going to be healthy? Are you looking for other avenues to perhaps continue this journey, or other things. And then to the colleague who's been undermined, unsupported, perhaps blamed for what's happened. Okay, like they don't want to hear, yes, so and so is a complete asshole. Yes, they are a dick. Don't worry about them. You know, okay, they don't want to hear that. They want to hear somebody, or they want to be seen. Like, do you feel like you've not been heard? Like you've not been considered? Like you're not valued? Your opinion, your expertise, your experience is not considered. And I'm guessing that perhaps you're really needing your ideas to be heard, to be listened to, for your expertise, and what you bring is to be valued. So when we are listening to people and we're not sure how to respond, there's two parts to how you can respond. The first part is like, have a guess at what they're feeling. And by saying that, I'm guessing you are feeling, and have a guess. So say it like, guess you're feeling angry. Okay, we're inviting them to go, actually, no, I'm not feeling angry. I'm feeling frustrated, or I'm feeling frightened. So by just saying I'm guessing, instead of like, I can see that you're feeling angry, because we're assuming we know what they're feeling. Okay, so I'm guessing, it's an invitation, and then it's softening you as well. You're not judging the situation. So just have a guess, and then pause and let them come back with, yes, I am feeling angry. It's giving them their chance to tune in with actually what they're feeling, or you know, to see whether it sits right or not. So I'm guessing that you're feeling disappointed and gutted because you were so hoping for that vaginal birth, and that's not how it turned out, because you know how important it is for the health and well-being of your baby to be born vaginally. Okay, and I'm wondering if you're feeling like you failed your baby. So just say it out loud, because often they can't say it, it's too hard to say. So here are some common feelings that, you know, relate to the birth and parenting world. And then the second part is, okay, I'm wondering if you are needing. So we're actually asking them what they're needing, because what we think they need, it comes from what we believe we would need in that situation. So for me, I often respond with help and advice, because that's what I'm seeking. I'm seeking help and advice and support, but other people don't want that. So I'm wondering if you are needing in that moment. So let's relate it back to the woman who's been robbed of her vaginal birth. I'm wondering if you need understanding about the process of what happened and why it happened that way, or perhaps you just need support or healing. Okay. So my take-home message for you is, it's okay to name the shit stuff, the shit feelings, the shit situation. The more we bring it up, okay, it means that the energy can be dissipated, and this person isn't trying to fight within themselves in that turmoil to try and express what's going on for them, and it's bringing it to the surface. So it means that it can go away easier and quicker. But often we think, oh no, we can't allow this big feeling to come up because it's going to be too much. And, you know, just like my wee 1-year-old the other day, you know, he was so desperate to get the chicks out of the pen. And this is at 10 o'clock at night. And it's like, no, you can't. And I was so afraid of saying no, because I didn't want to go through the disappointment of the tears and the upset. And so I was trying to avoid the disappointment. But then I was like, no, actually, he needs to hear this. And so I just explained to him, look, I know, are you feeling disappointed? Are you feeling sad that we can't get the chicks out? And he's like, yeah. And so with that, he was okay about it. He was okay. But we often don't want to say these things because we think it's actually going to make it worse. We don't want to say, oh my gosh, are you frustrated because you can't have the lolly? Are you disappointed? We don't want to say that because we think it's going to make their reaction bigger, but actually it does the opposite. It brings the reaction down, because it's like, oh, somebody knows that I feel frustrated because I can't have what I wanted. So just when in doubt, or if you are triggered in that moment, and we're all human, different people, people's stories, things will trigger us too. So if you've been triggered, that's okay, and you can't be there fully for that person, that's okay. Just fall back. There's some fallback phrases. Sometimes you don't have to say anything. Just say, thank you for sharing your story. Okay, thank you. From a big heartfelt thank you for sharing your story. You can just say, I can see this is a big story. This is really hard for you right now. Okay, and I can't begin to imagine what this is like for you. And just get that eye contact, get that oxytocin, get that safety, build that trust, build that love, and that's enough. And just know that by not doing anything or not saying anything is actually probably more powerful than anything you possibly could say. So by responding with empathy and compassion, the healing results affect us all. By responding empathically to somebody else with compassion, we're also healing that part within us that is also wounded. And that's why a lot of us can't be there, because we are not willing to feel that pain within ourselves. So just to finish, the power of empathy. I'm in it with you. I'm not here to fix you. I'm not here to feel it for you, but I'm here to feel it with you and let you know that you are not alone. And it's when we don't feel alone, is that when we are not going to be as traumatized, if traumatized at all, when we know somebody is there with us. So thank you. If you got any moments to pop what's landed for you in the Q&A, you are most welcome. But that's me. I hope that was helpful. And yes, I would love to know what your takeaways are.
That's absolutely wonderful, Katie. Thank you so much. Sorry, phone going off. Yeah, thank you so much. And we are getting pretty tight to time here. If anybody has a comment that they want to put in, please, you're absolutely welcome to. I love how gosh, this has just been, considering you were nervous about presenting, I got to tell you, you're a great presenter.
Oh.
No, yeah, I'm sure everybody watching will agree. Like, it was so methodical, and you identified areas that we could all completely relate to. I think particularly as a lot of people watching here are maternity healthcare providers in some sort of capacity, and and it is such a fine line that we walk between sympathy and empathy, and you've given us a couple of really, really practical, wonderful tools, don't you think, those watching, of knowing that, of asking about what the person's feeling and what they're needing right now, and just a simple question, I'm guessing you're feeling. It's such a different way to say something rather than, I'm sure you must be feeling, and I'm wondering if you are needing, and just simple question, right? And sometimes we just need a reminder that those are the kinds of lines of words that we should be starting our sentences with. I think that often in these roles, because we're seeing the same things kind of over and over again, you can get onto your own kind of recorded message sometimes. This is your sort of standard reaction. You don't have to think, it just comes out because you've said it to 100 different women in the last few months or whatever. And we need those reminders sometimes that, whoa, hold on, is this really our best form of best practice? So just fantastic. And one of those pet words that I work really hard myself to not say to people is you should. And yeah, what you should do is, don't say should. Because that's one of everyone has these pet things, but I'm like, don't say that. So just looking at the chats, a comment here from a lady in Tauranga in New Zealand. And Katie actually used a word in there that some of you may not recognize at one point, which you may not have picked up on, which was the word whānau, which is a Maori word, and it's a very, very common part of the Kiwi vernacular, and so that just means family, if you heard that one and you're from overseas. Carla is from Tauranga in New Zealand. Thanks, Katie, I should say. Those were some great tools for helping traumatized mums to feel seen and heard. Yeah, I agree. Great tools, so practical, such good resources. From Kirsty, thank you, Katie. That was exceptional. I agree. This information is so important. I can really relate to it. Thank you so much for sharing this. From Shelley, that was very stimulating. Thank you. I certainly have been very wary about naming an intense emotional response for fear of placing an emotion on someone and that's not happening for them. Yeah, right. Understand that. I like the framing of the inquiry though, and that would help. Yeah. So thank you so much. Katie, is there anything that you would like to add before we close today?
No, I was just reading the chat then. No, I think, you know, my invitation for you going onwards now is just to be observant of how we respond to people, just in those not such big conversations, if we do, and then also just to observe how people respond when we're sharing, you know, even if it's just like, oh, how's your day? Oh, actually, I'm really knackered today. Like, I've had a shit day. The kids are blah, blah, blah. And just see how they respond. Have a little bit of fun with it. And then you can, you know, and with your partners, like, no, stop fixing it. I'm just telling you, it's been a shit day. I don't need to go for a walk, even though I probably should go for a walk. But I don't need you to tell me I need to go for a walk. I just want you to hear that it's been fucking crap today. Just go and be playful with it. But yes, and then, you know, our children are the best ones to practice with. Are you feeling frustrated? Are you feeling disappointed? If you've got children or grandchildren to practice with, and you know, really lean into those big emotions.
One final thing, actually we've got another little lovely comment from Amanda, thanking you, Katie. She's enjoyed the presentation, a great reflection and a reminder from Amanda and Zelly. Could you just as a final thing, could you just go over your contact details as well, in case anybody's wanting to get in contact with you?
Oh, lovely. So you can find me on at Natural Beginnings. So that's my website, Natural Beginnings. Website. What else do you need?
Right.
What else do you need?
And that's .com? .co.nz?
Oh, my email or website, I guess.
Or both.
So my email is naturalbeginningsnz@yahoo.com. And my website is Natural Beginnings Birthing, I think. Oh my gosh, my brain's frazzled now. But yeah, but Natural Beginnings New Zealand, you'll find me, because there will be quite a few natural beginnings.
Fantastic. Okay, so thanks so much. Thank you to those that are live today as well. We love having the live audience, and we know a lot of people watch it later on. But yeah, that's just great. And thank you so much, Katie. It was very insightful and very practical as well. And so I just want to wish everybody a wonderful rest of your day and rest of your week, and enjoy. So thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Bye.